ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, or in the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Do you think that you could enter paradise without having suffered like those believers who passed away before? Misfortune and hardship befell them, and so shaken were they that the apostle and the believers with him would exclaim, "When will Allah's help come?" This is a famous Mata Nasrullah. Ala inna Nasrullahul Kareeb. When they ask, when will the help of Allah comes, the response, verily, Allah's help is always near. Ala inna Nasrullahul Kareeb. Fighting is ordained or prescribed for you, even though it be hateful to you. But it may be well, or it may well be, that you hate a thing that while it is good for you, and that it may be well that you love a thing while it is bad for you. And Allah knows, whereas you know not. I just wanted to start with those because it lets us know that every generation has a special fight, a special struggle. And there were times when the believers were so shaken that they would call out, "When will come the help of Allah?" Because the exclamation being that we are believers. Since we are believers, that Allah is our help, Allah is our protectors, when is Allah's help coming? And this is common in the human being because sometimes people have a tendency to wonder about things. They may lose a son or a daughter, or have a period of a bad streak in life. And they might want to blame it on Allah. You know, they'll say, "Well, I've been praying 5 times a day, I've been giving zakat, or I've been going for Hajj, I've been doing all of this, and I'm having all of these troubles. I'm having all of these problems. Why isn't life better for me? Why don't I get the best of this world and the next world?" This is human. It's not just Muslims. Christians, all kind of people that have a specific belief can fall into that trap sometime. Why is God not helping us? Ala inna Nasrullahul Kareeb. Allah's help is near. They don't always know that. Then it continues with, fighting is prescribed for you. Struggle is prescribed for people. And it may be that you dislike struggling, although it's good for you, right? And you like ease and comfort, although it may not be good for you. And you have to study your religious foundational work and what have you, and you have to come to conclusions. This is good for me to struggle, right? This is good for me to sacrifice, and Allah will reward me and bless me according to His will. He knows best about all of this. I wanted to talk a little bit today about, I was going to deal with some of our family issues, and I was going to deal with some of that, but something has been happening, and we believe that we have to consciously remind people. If you all remember, maybe last month, maybe a month and a half or so, almost 2 months ago, we would go down to some of the demonstrations. In those demonstrations, we would talk about certain subjects like teach-ins. And we were trying to explain to them that in order to have a proper program, in order to have a proper demonstration and what have you, first of all, you have to know why you're there. Why are we here? Right? Okay. Then the people that you're demonstrating against, they have to know why you're there. The other thing is, what obstacles will we come in contact with? What challenges will we face? What things is it in the environment that we have to face and overcome, right, or neutralize, right? And then there's the case of not only knowing where you're going, but how you're going to get there. You know, how you're going to get there. And that's up for discussion, because those are things that, like, you have to discuss. What are we going to face? What challenges, what obstacles, and how we're going to deal with them. But that picture of the ultimate society that we're looking for at that period of time, like they're getting ready to have the Martin Luther King thing down there. Martin Luther King's dream, I had a dream. I don't even think they're going to mention that this. It's either tomorrow or Saturday. One of those. It's close. Because look at what they're dealing with now. What happened to the dream? What happened to being judged by the content of character instead of race, right? What happened to the check that was bounced? Insufficient funds? What happened to all that? Well, it has bounced over. That is a rubber check. That check been bouncing over and over again, and it's been bouncing throughout history. One of the ball players said the other day, and he said it well, he said, I love America, but America don't love me. And the last few days I've been watching about soldiers in Australia in World War II. And they were, when they got to Australia, they were down there to fight in the Pacific and all that. And as Seabees, to build roads, to build airports, you know what I mean, landing fields and all of that. Because they wasn't letting them fight too much. So they was engineers. They're doing a good job. Just like the Red Ball Express. Boy, they was drivers, and they kept the people supplied. They did a good job. And they helped build roads near the Burma Road and all of that, going to Chongqing in China. Okay. But there's something that's common about all of those. America, when they took black troops to America, they told the Australians to institute a full racial policy of separation. Now, Australia is super racist. I mean, the way they did the indigenous people down there. But for American Negroes, they was just open arms. When there would be an argument between, it is crazy, between Americans, see the MPs, and the white troops was telling them, you guys can't fraternize with these people. And then the Negro, them Australian women, liked Negroes, and they could go, they just like Negroes. And Australian troops seemed to like blacks. And so it was a strange situation. But they fought for America, but America didn't fight for them. That's why when you understand what the Tuskegee Airmen went through, they had the best record of protecting bombers in World War II. They really did. Some said they didn't lose any bombers, that is to attacks, not they lost one. If that's true, or anywhere close to it, it's unbelievable. That means them white boys, when they was going on a bombing raid, they say, them niggas haven't lost nobody. I want them niggas to take me to Berlin and back. I don't care if they are red or orange, the planes got red wings and blue, I don't care what they got, right? Because I want to get back home. Now remember, up until that time, they was losing 45% of their planes and 40%. Some even said 60, I don't believe 60, but 62%. Whatever it was, they was knocking them out of the sky. When the Negroes got with them, they hooked them up, but still, the military, they just gave them awards 50 years ago. I mean, not 50 years ago, when Clinton was president. That's pitiful. That's pitiful. Okay, so this is the point. I want to relate some of the things that are going on now. And I don't want anybody to be shocked. But if you remember, if you don't remember, this thing remembers that I said a long time ago, and I said it several times, that boss man, that we're going to put a little, not voodoo, nothing like that. We're not going to root the white man, but we're going to put a little bad luck on boss man. I don't know if anybody remember, but you just watch back them. Bad luck. That means we're going to root the system. We're going to have bad luck on the system. And then in recent years, we said that we're going to pray for buffoonery, clownery. We're going to ask Allah to make a fool out of these people. Right? And so I just have the top 10 list here. And I want to mention a few things. It's clear that God is trying to get our internal historical attention. You know, Allah is trying to get our attention. Now, Allah don't beat people over the head. Well, sometimes He do, but I mean, you're not forced. The Bani Israel was not forced to love Moses. But after He brought them across the sea, that kind of gave them a little, well, okay. But they didn't even hold on then. So you and I should never be discouraged or apprehensive when our people do not flood to our assistance and nearness to us because we happen to be right the majority of the time, or we have good intentions, or we're not teaching preacherism where God spoke to me and I walk on the water, and if you send me this here money, I'm going to give you a blessed clause. I'm going to blow my breath on it, I'm going to sprinkle water on it, and I'm going to send you. I even heard one preacher said they're going to send niggas a money hand. Now, you should, boy, when I used to drive like they having those hurricanes right now down in Louisiana. Well, that was the last bastion, it's still down there a little bit, of old-time Negro buffoonery. And I was listening to this preacher. I used to love, I'd turn them preachers on Sunday night after a program. I'm driving. And this preacher said, I'm going to send you, you send me so much money, $20, I believe. I'm going to send you not a prayer cloth, but a money hand. In fact, this was from the prophetess. This was a woman. I'm going to send you a money hand. It'll help you smell money. It'll help you find money. It'll help you grab hold to money and keep money. It's a money hand. And all you got to do is send them. Now, when you have a record of telling people the truth and don't nobody help you, and them niggas lie like that, and they get all their help in the world. Sometimes you be saying, well, I just lied to the niggas to help them because they going to listen to the lie. I've been telling them the truth for 50 years, and they don't pay no attention. That nigga down the street, he driving 3 Rolls Royces, and right, he got everybody in step. So it's a challenge for you. It is a challenge. So Allah's trying to get our attention. Most of these we've talked about. I'm from California, Arkansas, California, D.C. This is the early fire season. I used to fight forest fires in California, so I remember the fire seasons. Now, lately, the big fire season would start right around now, but it'd be a little light. And then, see, in California, they have a rainy season. There's 2 seasons in California. It's not like here, 4 seasons. There they have 2 seasons. You have the wet season, and then you have the dry season. Like for instance, if I drive from here in December, it's going to be brown all the way till I get over the last hump, just before coming down in the valley in California. Like after going over those mountains and coming down, all of a sudden everything is green in December. Everything is brown over here. So that's the wet season. That's why they grow crops so well in California, and they can grow more than one season. Anyway, so California has those seasons. Now, what happened is, in the winter, you don't have no forest fires because it's raining and everything is wet. All right? And you don't have a fire season around here because it's green every now and then. A few years back, it was 34 days during this month in August when they didn't have no rain. 34 days. That means all this greenery. Like, see how green it is now? This has been an extra rainy season. It's rain, and this is August. Okay, it should be slowing down, but it ain't slowing down. It's picked up, so it's rain. Then the rain coming down from Dixie gonna be up here tomorrow, I guess. But anyway, so During that year, they had a little light fire season because all of this greenery dried up and it got dry enough to catch on fire. Somebody throw a cigarette out the window, whew, stuff started burning like California, but not bad. It was only 34 days. And that was a long time for here. But now it don't even seem like it's going for a week or two. The point is this, they have a wet season there, they have a dry season. It stops raining maybe around May and no later than June. So the fire season technically starts in California. All the spring is nice, March, April, even May. But by June and July, it starts drying up. So by August, it's starting to burn. But the peak of the fire season in the last few years would be October and November. I mean, just remember the news. The point is this, California is burning up. And it's been burning up every year. A few years ago, they had a 10-year run for a dry season. And they could tell from them old trees, you know, because they got rings around them, they say there haven't been no drought like this for 1,000 years or something like that. That long a drought. All the reservoirs were empty. So it picked up a little bit the last few years. They had a couple of good rainy seasons. Filled the reservoirs back up. But in the last few years, they have been burning down whole towns. 2-3 years ago, it was Santa Rosa. And they burned through there, because see, California, the people build houses sometimes in the woods, like cabins in the woods, and they build whole, you may drive down the road and there's a house right in the middle of all of them trees. And the neighborhoods are sometimes cut out of the woods. So if them fires start rushing through, you can spray that water on the roof all you want, but when that fire heat up, first of all, the sun gonna dry them roofs up. And then last week, last week it got up to 130 degrees in California. Okay, this is modern scientific measurement. They had the hottest temperature on Earth for several years at 134, 136, but it wasn't like today it's right on the money. But imagine what 90 degrees feel like, just like that. Okay, I just stopped sweating here a minute ago after all this cool air. Okay. Now imagine 110 degrees, like Phoenix and Tucson. 115 degrees, that's common out there. Furnace Creek was 130 degrees last week. And they have all these forest fires. First of all, you can't hardly work in that kind of climate. It's too hot.
I remember some of the reports coming out from the firefighters.
Right.
Fires was that they had to go to the soldiers come back. They had to go through PTSD treatment.
Mm-hmm.
They were, it was that dramatic. Burning houses and stuff like.
Can you imagine? I heard the same. But imagine now, this is just firefighters. It's not war.
Right.
But that fire, see, okay, I was at forestry camp in 62 and 63. So by the big time fire season, I was gone, but I did fight some forest. I was at forestry camp, like you go out to California Division of Forestry. You live out in the woods and you go to work every day, you know. And if fires happen, you fight the fires and you learn how to make a fire line and all that stuff. Yeah, okay, fine. But this stuff is different. This stuff is, it's like frightful. It's like fear. The people are fearing. And now, see what this is, coronavirus, they can't bring all the prisoners out to fight the fires. They got California Division of Forestry camps all over California. That's the state have them, and then the county, each county, like LA County, they have all them fires all the time. They have forestry camps also, county forestry camps, where people live out in the woods and they fight forest, brush fires in LA and forest fires everywhere else. It is burning millions of acres, good God Almighty. And this happens every year. The Paradise Fire swooped through there and just knocked everything out. And then Santa Rosa, right north of San Francisco on Highway 101, that's beautiful up there, Northern California. The houses look like a Berlin bombing. I remember in California, houses are made mostly out of wood. And not bricks. These houses made a lot of, see, if you made houses out of bricks, them earthquakes tear them boys down. Yeah, they'll fall down in a hurry. So the houses out there are made mostly of wood. You might have a little fancy brick on the front, but it ain't holding, it's just for decoration. But the house itself, the houses are made out of wood because the wood can, bend, and you know what I mean, and that it won't collapse. And the wood is light. You got the light wood up there, sheetrock. If it fall on you, just daze you a little. Anyway, these are the greatest forest fires in history already right now. Unbelievable. As you said, they're having post-traumatic stress. I done drove all through the country over and over again. Like I was saying, now Louisiana. In a way, when I watch the news, see, I know everywhere they're talking about. Even in the world, I know if they're talking about so-and-so, I done been there before, or if it's Mexico, Venezuela. It don't make no difference. Most of the time, I done been there before. And I know what Lake Charles, Louisiana looked like. And I know where Houston is, and I know the humidity, and I know where Beaumont, Texas is swampland. It's right on the border between Texas and a few more miles, right on the border between Texas over here and Louisiana over here. Louisiana is just a wet state. When you go back 100 years ago, most of the travel in Louisiana was by boat. You go around by boat. Okay, then they got this Huey Long start, the governor, in the 30s, start building bridges and roads and stuff like that. But anyway, so Louisiana, when you're driving through Louisiana, it's just water everywhere. And the rain is unbelievable. Now, they just had 2 hurricanes. First of all, there was hurricane number 1. They said, oh, we missed the big punch. Oh, they were just jumping up, laughing and happy. And then this one. And of course, you was listening to the news too. This is an unsurvivable hurricane. You gotta leave. 150 miles an hour. Of course, I mean, who knows what that feels like? You know, I mean, it's like it just, you know, it blows everything down. It just blows everything down. So I went through Texas, maybe it was 20 years ago, on Highway 30. And they had something blow through there. And for miles and miles, all the trees, the pine trees, they were snapped like a matchstick. And I'm driving, I'm seeing it. So boy, I'm glad I wasn't here then. Okay, I'm gonna speed up. Number 2 is hurricane. And this is hurricanes and floods, let's call it of biblical proportions. You're having 100-year floods every 5 years now, right? All over the world, it's been cut down. It's not here. This is China. This is everywhere. Is having, when you listen to the poor people in China, we're having a 50-year flood, but we didn't have a 50-year flood every year for the last 5 years. In other words, it's washing all the topsoil away. It's just ruining the country. I try to speed up. Number 3, small businesses closing. They're just closing. You know, they don't have the wherewithal. The government just cut down on the $600 a week they was giving them. But the stock market is still going up with all this bad news. That means the government is spending trillions of dollars buying up all that stuff. Because the stock market go on bad news. You don't look at all this bad news. This is pages of bad news. And the stock market's still going up. I stopped watching it. I used to, when the stock market would drop 500 a day, 1,000 a day, that's when it was real. A few months ago, oh, I'd say, yeah, let me see how much it went down today, how did it come up, and I'd be watching it. But after 2 months ago, I stopped looking at it. I said, it's artificial. There ain't no way in the world that this stock market is going up during this. What is the coronavirus now? About 175, 180, almost. I bet you it's getting close to 180,000, you know. The latest I saw was 170-something thousand. So, okay. Small businesses closing all over the country, the workload, and this, you know, it's millions of people on unemployment. And then, you know, the people come and they give a lecture at the Republicans. I'll get to that later. But you know, those Republicans seem like that they're talking about another place in the universe, not this one. Nothing they say relates to where we are now. Number 4 is New Zealand. There was just 59 people killed down there last year, right? They just sentenced the guy the other day. Good God Almighty, 184,000. That means next week it'll be 200,000. Well, a week and a half to it. Okay, that's getting pandemic. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's getting like, hey, they ain't missed a beat though. Them white folks, them Republicans.
Right. It's like it's not even.
What? We're having a little something going on, but don't you worry, we're gonna go right on past that. Yeah. And we got a new virus. I'll get to that dumb stuff. I'll speed up. The basketball players are walking out everywhere. All the stuff, yeah, everything that's happening is a shock. They say, no, man, enough is enough. And any intelligent system would have a moratorium. Okay, they just send out a memo. Leave niggas alone for 6 months. Don't worry about it. Hell, let them go. Just, you arrest them, don't worry. You can go arrest them after. They'll get loose and be hanging out on the corner doing wrong. They'll be shooting dice on the corner and sticking up people without a mask. They're going to leave them alone and don't worry, we'll get them later. They don't do that. I'm going to get to that later, but this is the design, like we talked about before. This is a design by the system. Everything that is going on is unbelievable. Number one, none of the leaders, the mayors and all that, none of them are talking about how we got here. And I know how we got here because I was in the front row. They destroyed the black movement with drugs. Sure, it was 52 years ago. That's when it really kicked in. After they infested us with drugs, it followed the course. It changed the black community. By 1970, we were putting bars on our windows. Never happened before. We became a closed-in society. We had to look out for ourselves instead of the community. Your neighbor was now your enemy because they breaking into your house, stealing your stuff. They changed the black community. It worked. And then the money got bigger, so now we're killing each other by the thousands. By the 80s and the 90s, it's a wholesale slaughter. Okay. But none of the mayors are talking about how the thing happened in Chicago, in LA, and all of those things. They don't even, they say, the boogeyman, that's what this is about. The black man is always the boogeyman. Whatever happened, your fault, you did it, right? And then the boogeyman gonna get you. So we gotta protect ourselves. Forget about the nice police who holds a guy by the back of his shirt and pumps 7 bullets in him. The way they're slaughtering black, this is on purpose. This is not like coded. They used to kill you like if you was in the backyard or something and couldn't nobody see, they'd blow your behind away. But now, the telephone, they know that when they do this, somebody got a phone on them. Somebody got everybody know that. And then they might even have their body cameras on, they might be working. So now it's out in the open. They're doing this to get a response. The mother said, I'm praying for the people. That was yesterday. And then she turned and said, I'm praying for you, the police. That's what the black mother said about the brothers just killed up in Wisconsin. I'm praying for you, the police. We don't want anybody to do anything in our name. Same thing George Floyd's and people, same thing everybody said down in Atlanta. All the black people said, we don't want anybody to destroy any property or anything else because that's not going to help. We want you to demonstrate and make your demands. It's the same old dumb stuff we was talking. Now we told them they're going to blame everything on you. Oh, it's a nice demonstration during the day, but at night, here come these other people. Like before, all up in New York, the white boys was on them motorbikes. They was going over lighting them garbage cans. The police run over there, and they light the can over there. They was doing all that on purpose. And it worked. Every now and then on the news, they said the parents and the family are not for this. And some of the people actually go stop people from doing stuff like that. They very seldom report that. All right? The Bogeyman syndrome. We're going to kill you and enter Aliyah. Enter the Palestinian-Israeli syndrome in police work. First of all, look at the machinery that the police have now. They look like Israelis. All that stuff. Who's been teaching them lately? The Israelis. What's the Israeli policy? Palestinians, you don't have a right. We can cut off your water. We can cut off everything in your neighborhood. It don't make no difference. You don't have a right to send no little $2 rocket across the border at us. Well, we're going to cut off everything. We're going to kill all of you just so you do that stuff. You don't have a right. That's what they're saying to us. Niggas, we can shoot you down, and you don't have a right to do nothing about it or say nothing about it. And when we do it to you, we're going to follow it up with our own crew. If you don't mess up nothing, don't make no difference. We're sending our crew in to do whatever we want them to do, to blame it on you. You, the boogeyman. You the problem. That's what this is all about. You can see it. Okay, we've been telling the people for I don't know how long, and the system, the Negroes in the system are helping this Nazi-like regime. This is a Nazi regime. They are doing the same thing that they do to the people of Palestine. They have been doing it to us all along, but now it's more sophisticated. All the things that we thought we had won during civil rights, where is it at now? Where is it? All that's gone. They got voter fraud. You got to have ID to vote. You know what I mean? Whatever you don't have to count jelly beans. You know, they used to have, they used to count about it. They really did. They'd have a jar. How many jelly beans in that jar? No, it's unbelievable. Just think, the stuff is hilarious. Just like you laughing, nobody would believe it. And then they present themselves as paragons of virtue, freedom, justice, love, equality, worldwide, right? Fairness to humanity, and the whole world is watching them. And they're saying, man, what is wrong with y'all? No, they're trying to develop this Nazism. Well, no, they're not trying. They're elevating it to a higher level. And it's working. So now, that brings it back to us. The basketball players are walking out. Now we have a pandemic. 184,000? 180. Let me change this. I got 175,000. That was the last I heard. 184 plus. And millions of people, and this fool has he ought to get him a snake oil wagon. You know them old wagons in the West, you take this. Here's Uncle Elder's magic bleach tonic. You drink 5 tablespoons probably, of Uncle Elder's magic bleach. It'll whiten you inside and out, and it'll cure all the bacteria, right? And then you follow it up with a little bit of syrup of black draw, a little bit of castor oil, and it's going to clean you out, and you're going to be free. And all these instant medicines, right? What is it? Medicine number 5. He didn't have 4 or 5 things. You know, cure all. You don't tie this here, and they just keep telling, no matter what he say, they say, oh yeah, this is gonna work. And then they come back and say, this is not this, this is not that. Police killings, vigilante. The white boy just killed people up there the other day. And the vigilantes, his friends, they got, I don't know if you've heard all the videos where the vigilantes is, the police is giving them water.
Right, yeah.
Oh, and all, we so happy for y'all here, you know.
Totally different reality.
And then the white boy done shot somebody, and people running, that boy done just shot somebody, and he got a rifle, of course. Now just imagine a nigga with a rifle walking toward the police. Well, that's not, you don't have to imagine it. He's not going to do that. He's not going to give him a chance. And now, this is in front of everybody. Everybody's just watching. The whole world is watching that. And when it talks about the emperor has no clothes, this is ridiculous. But now you got to remember, we ask, oh Allah, make a fool out of these people. Make it where they just asinine. And that's what's happening. Okay, I'm only on number 7 here, but let me speed up. But we say these killings, these vigilantes, all this stuff is arranged. Every time something happens, the good people say we don't want no violence, and then the other people come in anyway. In fact, we told the police that on the, that's y'all's people. They're not, okay, they're your responsibility. They're not our responsibility. You can't associate them with us. You can't associate, but they do. We got to keep the peace. Man, that old Nixonian, doctrine, no knock, stop and frisk, and law and order, was ridiculous. The cooperation between them, unemployment, we'll keep going. Well, unemployment, I don't know, it was 30 million or something. Republican convention, morning in America. Everything's great. We've done a great job. All of this SHIT, it don't exist. It don't exist. Hell, this don't exist. Police brutality, see, all the rebellions in the past were based on police brutality. The police killed somebody or beat somebody up, and that was it. So somebody's doing it on purpose. These elections, you can see that the elections is built to scare people to death. To scare people to death. If you don't vote for us, those niggers are going to take care of you. So the old people over here, they're going to vote like probably they're going to scare most of the Democrats to death. So probably they won't win. But it don't make no difference because nobody's talking about what the world needs. You know, the world needs the people to work together, right? To build a new harmonious development with the earth on which we live. Earth liberation, liberated from who? Liberated from the human being, right? They're not nobody's talking about that. But, I mean, how long can the earth last in its present condition if the ocean is full of plastic? And the ocean used to be a cleanup place. Used to clean up everything, go in there, it would clean it up, the salt, it would break it all down. Then it would bring up water, fresh water up, distill it in the air, and bring it back down all over the land. That's a wonderful setup. But that setup is disturbed. Allah created everything in balance, and now it's off balance. I'm going to speed up again. The Republican convention don't even seem like they're talking about this earth that we're living on. It don't sound like it, okay? It don't sound like this world at all. So, again, we have our black mother that's trying to wake everybody up. Peaceful protests, repeat of Antifa. Everything we told the people for the last few months is even more visible now. The preachers, the usual suspects, Sharpton and all of them, and the new representatives of black people, I listen to them on the radio, and they're nice people, but they're just like the kids down there at the black thing, the Black Lives Matter Plaza. They don't, if they knew, they would be saying this. Why, if this is true, or close to true, which you can read it, study it anywhere, why is nobody saying anything? Where's the Negro imams? From Brooklyn, from all up in Connecticut, everywhere. Why ain't they saying nothing? They may not know. Well, if they don't know, then they shouldn't be the imams. If they don't know what's going on, right, how you gonna lead the people when you don't know what's going on? Right, yeah. And then why would they be showing up on press TV and everything? That's just unbelievable. Let me speed up. So, the alternative media, you can't get nothing alternative media because the one thing that we learned clearly about DC over the years is about alternative media. We saw over the last 25, 30 years, all the people supposed to be in Answer, Coalition, and all of that, they're now the representatives and RT and all of that, right? They're all the representatives. Then, hey, okay, not only that, but the black preachers from those days, the revolutionary, fiery chit-chatters right here down at the churches around here. Okay. Who are they? They're the representatives. When they want to know something, the system calls on them. When the system want to know something, they call on Brian Becker and all of these guys, the guys in Answer. I don't want nobody to call on me, but at least we have an idea. I mean, just because we write all the time, it doesn't make no difference. I mean, it is kind of ridiculous. It is really super ridiculous. Okay. So now, this temporary call on relatives and friends, we can see from what we just went over, and that was just the top 10 hit list. That's not all the stuff. That's just, you couldn't put it down. That's why I say I'm gonna speed up. You couldn't make this stuff up. All of this stuff is happening right now. It's happening right now. All at the same time. And then this is just the top 10 list. It's not, you know what I mean? It's just the big stuff. It's all happening on our watch. And nobody's calling it right. No analysis is, let's see. See, on this watch, we have to, it's either, this go around, either the human being, we develop a human being that has relative self-control. Let's say he's conscious, controlled by conscience. That means he'll do good a lot and he'll do a few phony things, and then some will really be on a high level. And a small percentage will be knuckleheads. Okay, that's fine. But in this case, everybody is going crazy and ain't nobody, in order to control a society like this one, either we're going to be highly evolved or we're going to live in a super dictatorship. You ever read the book 1984 or you ever heard of it? What we got now makes 1984 look like I don't know what. Well, 1984 was written in 1948. That's 84 backwards. So it was saying that already existed then. Yeah, okay. Now, you got to imagine, with surveillance, with police mechanism, with facial identity, with all this new stuff, right? We'll either be on global lockdown with people goose-stepping up and down the street, or we're going to have a society where the human being has evolved. We want a world where the human being have evolved, been allowed to and encouraged through training and education to evolve above this level right here. So most of the people is kind of here and up there, you know what I mean? Where they're exercising self-control. The police is within them. This is right, this is wrong. If we have to have a police department and they won't legalize drugs, they won't do none of that stuff, right? So the people are going to have those things that want them, and you can't stop them. And then they're the ones that put them here for us. And then blame us and call us, they're the boogeyman. So I'll get back to this subject in a day or so about relatives. But I call on my friends and relatives, if you knew where we've been all of our life and what we've been working toward, if you already know that, you should get on this side, get on our side. Retire, leave the white man, just leave him alone. No, leave that cracker alone because you can see where he's coming from. And he's gonna finish you off. After he finish us off, if he do, he gonna come at you. And then read the patterns of history. He's not gonna make it. The patterns, it's not going his way, it's going our way. You made a mistake by joining his side because his seemed like it's stable. That was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He ain't that no more. Boss man is not that. And the earth that you was living on then is not the earth. You got to realize everything is on our side. The earth is rebelling against boss man. The earth is rebelling. Okay, the earth is going to wrap that boy up. It don't make no difference how he don't like it. The earth is a living organism. It'll drown. You think this stuff, look, you think these hurricanes or something? You let that water heat up down there another 10 degrees. And down in the hotter the water, the hurricanes, y'all see all these movies about these great tidal waves and all that. That's where this boy is headed. You got to stop him. We have the ability to check his behavior now and institute a new system. This is not I want my piece of the pie. It ain't that anymore. You can't do that. If you fix one thing, everything else is still messed up. Suppose they finish racism. Just tomorrow, No more racism. Everybody love Negroes. Don't make no difference. You're still going to drown. You're still, all that other stuff is still going to happen, right? Suppose you just go to bed one night and get up and say, I want to fix the climate. Fix the climate. You got oppression. You got wars. You got all of that stuff, right? Suppose it's not a fix one thing anymore. We got to fix the whole thing altogether. And we have to have a system that would allow us to do that. In other words, we have to engineer environmental circumstances, and all of that takes unity, discipline, organization, focus. Unity, discipline, organization, focus. That's all what it takes. So systems transformation, not individual we're going to transform the racial part. That ain't going to get it. Right? We got to do the whole thing. So I'm calling on my family. I'm saying, hey, come on out. You made a mistake before. You got on Boss Man's team. You participated with Boss Man in all of this. Houses in California, all this stuff around here. There's so much, I don't even want to mention it. Does it bother me personally? Absolutely not. Am I happy? I am happy, personally. But I'm afraid for y'all, because I know where this leads. This is where it leads. Now, I can suggest, and I make an appeal to all the right-minded people. I'm appealing to you. But if you don't come, if you don't support it, this is not a personal thing where niggas supernatural can change, got magic wands and start. It's the people. The people always, at the right time, got the right message, and as the Quran says, Allah will not change the condition of a people till they change within themselves. So I'll get back to this later, but I'm calling all of my relatives. I don't want to tell you what you did and prove that I knew what you was doing all along, but I was up on all of this stuff all the time. You can believe it or not, but one thing you don't have to go and search is how often we've been correct and how often Boss Man has been wrong. Boss Man won World War II, he was lucky. He haven't did nothing in Korea. Vietnam, he just got all his people slaughtered. Of course, now the Vietnamese love America, but that's their problem. The U.S. lost in Vietnam. They destroyed the country. Agent Orange, they killed the people in Vietnam and they killed these people. It is the Gulf War #1 that they did in '91. The people came back with depleted uranium, all of that, plus the hundreds of thousands of people they killed over there. Then they came back with Afghanistan in 2001 or 2. They invaded Afghanistan and they can't leave yet. Good God Almighty. 19 years ago. 19 years ago. 19 years ago. They went to Afghanistan, 2001. Yes, it was, 2001. Iraq, 2003. And they killed hundreds of thousands of people each time. They're not in prison, they're not in jail. They're just failing. all of that supersonic weapons, and they're not doing any good. That means that time is up. The time is up. They're not winning. They're not producing. The global prestige. They're worse than Pharaohs. When Pharaoh was drowned, all the plagues that hit Pharaoh, you know, the people are not looking at none of this from a religious perspective. You don't hear nobody in the news say nothing about God. Do they? They don't say, you know, this might be, they'll use floods of biblical proportions and what have you, but they won't never mention God, that maybe God is trying to get in touch with us through the environment. They don't say that. No. And if they read any scripture, this is exactly what it points to. Okay, so we'll speed up. Somebody asked me to make an analysis about Imam Hussein the other day. Okay. Well, to tell you the truth, this is the 8th of Muharram, and Friday or Saturday will be, maybe tomorrow will be Arafat, and after that, Muharram, the 10th of Muharram, Ashura. And Ashura is the great celebration when Imam Hussein was martyred in about 680. Him and a huge part of his family. I would say that all this stuff today is a vengeance of Imam Hussein. It's all falling into place. All of the followers of Imam Hussein are under pressure, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Iran, all of those places, or whether it's in Yemen. It doesn't make a difference. They're all holding on. And all the people here, I don't know what to say about the Shias here in the United States, but something is wrong. I'm not going to get into it. Maybe I'll mention it a little bit tomorrow or the next day. The Shias here seem to be non-Vilayati Faqih Shias. All of them. The Iranians, the African Americans. So I don't have no comment. In the past, I used to think I was slow. You know, like this thing happened, that thing happened, and I would get it maybe the second go round or the third go round. So I said, man, you're slow, you got to speed up because, you know, life, you know, you're getting lucky. So I was thinking that I was a little slow. Then I looked at everybody else. I said, dog, man, they ain't getting it. I mean, tell the truth. I said, the people, they're not getting it. They don't get nothing. They just go to work. The Quran said they eat like they cattle. They almost got their head down. They're not looking up and around. All they're doing is eating and living their day-to-day life. They're looking at their little piece of the globe, that right in front of them. So I thought I was slow till I looked at everybody else. Okay. Stuff we're going to do around here just quickly. Project management, to-do list, job description, peaceful, significant action. Same thing. We're not going to get mad and go off the handle. We want to influence the direction of change for good. That's peaceful, significant action. We already know about COINTEL program, drugs to destroy the black movement, da-da-da-da. Black Lives Matter, we already can see that they're managed and they're controlled. We already see the standard news is controlled and managed. We see that the alternative media, the alternative news is controlled and managed. We don't see any avenue of light coming to the minds of the people. They have to read the Quran, they have to read history. I suggest our policy: Quran, Hadith, history, and your own environmental circumstances. Why would somebody want to make you the boogeyman? And how would they do it? And does it work? Yes. So they may say, we do this, we might lose 40% of that. So 60% of the time, we're going to make them niggas the boogeyman. And it's going to happen, right? So if it's 60-40, they're going to take 60 every time. So what? 2-3 people know it ain't true. A few people, long as they're not acting on it, who cares? So right now, the Republicans, how could they sit there and talk that stuff in the world we're in now, and the people aren't saying, good God Almighty? I mean, there's a little controversy in the news, but they should be arrested for insanity. They should be put at St. Elizabeth over there, the crazy house. They should be in St. Elizabeth. Everybody out of Republicans, and then they ought to have the doggone Democrats keep watch over them, and we watch the Democrats. Right? In other words, all of them is crazy. Okay. We went into the teach-in process, but there's some ideas I have in mind. For instance, like I have relatives that are still good contact with the big churches. And let's call it niece number one is really a systems person, because one of our family members is a judge in Arkansas. And I was listening when I went to the big church in California. I bought all the CDs and DVD, all the stuff for the last week. You know, they got an office, and you go in there, and they got all the old stuff on sale for 50 cents a piece. So I buy a whole stack of boxes of it. So I listen to it when I'm on the way back, traveling. And then I'd hear niece number one, and Miss so-and-so and so-and-so is introducing, this is at the big show in the church, Mr. Negro judge from Arkansas. And she's proud of that judge. He's a damn fool. He's my relative. But the man is not a criminal, but you have to be part criminal to participate in this system and know it ain't working. Right? A judge knows this is bull crap. Right. They know that. They know that this is nothing like the law books. It's nothing like constitutional. They already know that. So they have to, just imagine, shoot, we can get videos and flyers, and we could have them reintroduce us to the churches and what have you. That's a possibility. In fact, that's what we're shooting for. That's why we're telling you right now. Okay, reintroduce your poor uncle to the church. See, because every time we have a funeral at the big church back there, biggest church in Oakland. I speak there. If it's a family, I speak it. So everybody, they still have the same respect as always. But they don't understand that we're on a whole different plane. Okay. Continuous shooting of black people. Okay. Unity, organization. System response to racism. Vigilantes. We can see how all that's working. But unity, organization, focus, discipline. In the long run, the people have to be organized and focused on an agenda to get to where they want to go. It's not haphazard. We keep calling on people to, just come out. But this nonviolent resistance and this alternative resistance means that that's the work we have to do. We don't need to talk about no knock, stop and frisk, law and order. The Patriot Act, shoot, that new Patriot Act stuff they come up with 10, 15, 20 years ago, just wipes all of that no knock, stop. They can snatch a Negro up and do anything they want with him nowadays, and they don't have to answer to nobody. Okay, we'll deal with some of the other details about to-do list, project management, and what have you as time passed. We just wanted to deal with this because watching the news, it just had to comment. And one thing I want to remind people, that we're going to be very careful about Dick Gregoryism. You remember Dick Gregory, right? Right, yeah. Yeah, Dick Gregory, he was a conspiracy man. Now, I didn't get him all the way until I got those 30 lectures of Malcolm X. So in 1964, he was talking about the FBI and all of that, and he was correct. And then I didn't know about, I was overseas dealing with Muhammad Babu. Can you look up Muhammad Babu? He's a Tanzanian, Muhammad Babu. He was active with Malcolm X a little bit. And when I was living with this brother that was a part of Kwame Nkrumah's administration from Ghana, he was a Tanzanian minister when I went there. He was from Zanzibar. Urban renewal and rural development, something like that. But that was like 50 years ago. So,
Zanzibar-born Marxist and Pan-Africanist nationalist who played an important role in the 1964 Zanzibar Revolution, served as a minister under Julius
Nyerere, yeah.
After the island was merged with mainland
Tanganyika to Tanzania.
Yeah, so he was jailed by Nyerere from 1972, and after his release, following an international campaign, remained a vocal critic of imperialism, authoritarian states, excessively statist, as well as private capitalist development models.
You see that 1972? When I went back to Africa during those years, Pete told me, he said, Babu had a job for you, and I was lucky that I missed, because they put him in jail, and they put a lot of other Negroes in jail, especially African Americans. It's a long story, but Babu, see if you can, Kofi Bashar, K-O-F-I, Kofi Bashar. from Ghana. He's a PhD from Ghana. I think he got his PhD in 1956 from Massachusetts somewhere. Kofi Bashar. He was Kwame Nkrumah's press secretary. He's mentioned in Malcolm X's book. The last time I heard about him was a few years back. I spoke at my brother-in-law's funeral, and I mentioned something about Africa, and they have ministers from around the world, and he's a minister from Ghana.
Does he have like another name, like Kofi Annan? Is that another?
Not Kofi Annan, no. Kofi Bashar. Bashar, something like that. Or if you could look, Kwame Nkrumah's press secretary. He's mentioned in Malcolm's book. But anyway, the point is that I was associated with all of those guys. I learned about colonialism from Kofi Bashar. You know, he taught me, and also Muhammad Babu. In other words, I learned from the top people about colonialism. All that stuff I learned, and then it was so surreal. Because Kofi Bashar, I lived with him for a while in Algeria. See, when your leader gets put out of a country, then you gotta go, you with the leader. You know, in Africa, if he gotta go, you gotta go too. So he worked for the radio and station, I think, in Algeria. And then he, Kofi Bashar. Well, that's okay. You can find it later. The point was about Babu and those people and Dick Gregory. What I was talking about was Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory, in later years, he was right a lot. But in later years, everything was a conspiracy, you know, like why they use red lipstick, it represents the vagina and the slit in there and all that. So, although it's probably true, he didn't keep close enough to the people and their thinking to ease them along. I watched Dick Gregory, and I believed almost all he was on. He passed away a few years ago, but he would be right. But the people thought of him as kind of like not off, but like out there. So this personal management, where you science fiction management stuff, that type of thing, we have to control it and ourselves so that we call it Dick Gregoryism, where we don't, you know, go out there beyond their ability to perceive what we're talking about. And that's difficult because, see, if stuff is happening to me all the time, I'm going way out there, you know what I mean? And I'm out there, I'm out there. But I have to slow it down and break it down so that I can't use any conspiracy theories since this happened, that I have to use everything. You see, everything is written. And when I say so-and-so did certain thing, I can, they did that. So I can almost produce the paperwork to prove anything I say, so that it's not and I have enough of that. That was a great trick to trap boss man into doing all this stuff on the surface. So he done did 100 things, but all I needed was 10 things to show what's happening, and he done did 25 that I can prove. I don't need to, right? That I can show this, that. And that's a great relief, because in this type of lifestyle, no matter what, you want to be believable. And these conspiracy traps, where they call a conspiracy theory almost anything. They can't call our stuff conspiracy theories because we're going to stay close. You know what I mean? You said what? Okay, here it is. On this date, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Well, here's what they did. The system did this. Here is the order from the government. They did this, they did that, they did da-da-da-da-da. Right? And if the FBI came here, I can prove that they came here because they came to the house first. Now, okay, I can't prove all of what the other stuff, but I can prove they did come by here. Now you can believe I'm telling you what they said and what they did, but I can prove that they was here. You see what I mean? I can prove that. Okay, so anyway, we're careful with Dick Gregoryism. We don't want to we don't want our stuff labeled as conspiracy theories, because we're not talking about no theory. Everything we talk about, hold it, we got it. We got it on record, right? We got it on paper. We got it all over the place, just to make sure that nobody's going to try to. No, we got it. You know, you have to double up on them. Anyway, are there any questions or any comments at all?
Did you have time to answer, well, this is a China comment. Someone said, you mentioned some things about China. Someone said that China got the Muslims in concentration camps.
Okay, the Uyghurs.
Yeah, the Uyghurs, yeah. That must be who she's talking about.
Who said that?
She's a regular. I think she's a Muslim sister, Susan Smith. That's the name on the Facebook.
Well, watch what the Chinese say about that. What about the other minorities in China that are Muslims? What about all that so-called Arab countries, the Iranians, everybody that's visiting them and having so that's one thing to think about. I will answer that shortly, but briefly I would say is, if the West say they're doing something, first of all, be skeptical. Ask simple questions, like if they're in prisons, how many schools have the government built in China? How many people go from in China, go to Turkestan, Turkmenistan, whatever they call it? How many people go there and visit to see those places? Or do they take the escapees, the people who escape from there and they come here, and then they say that's what's happening in China, right? It's like the people that run off from Cuba. Cuba is terrible, it's this, that, another. Okay, so they might take the Kool-Aid test. They may take one package and they may make a whole gallon out of it. They take one little package, right? And they make a whole gallon of Kool-Aid. In other words, they stretch it and they make it beyond belief. I would say this about Uyghurs. You have to look at what happened to the Russians too. Saudi Arabia treated, in Chechnya, Saudi Arabia hit them people real deadly. So the Chechens now, the people from Saudi Arabia was hitting them so hard. It's like Boko Haram. If you see Alama Zakzaki and his crew developing in Nigeria, then all of a sudden, right, Boko Haram pops up. Who's Boko Haram? Where do they get their money? Why are all of those people super financed? If you have Daesh, ISIL, Islamic State, and all those guys, how can they pop up with all of them in new white trucks riding in one direction? All of them brand new Toyota trucks. It's because Saudi Arabia is backing them. In Nigeria, Saudi Arabia is backing Boko Haram. If they want to scare the Chinese, they'll have a few people inside of China, inside of the Uyghurs. Remember those Uyghurs down here in, what's the name of that place? Guantanamo? Right. So they'll make the Chinese paranoid. And so then the Chinese say, hey, man, what y'all up to? Oh, we can't stand all of that. We're trying to get somewhere. Because see, go back a little while, the Chinese were building institutions. Everybody just praying and fasting, having a good time. The Turkish-speaking Muslims in China, they got to go and look what happened, right? They got to find out how many people in the world. First of all, if the United States say they're bad, always suspicious. What the hell is the United States feeling bad about the Muslims when Muslims can't even come here? They got a Muslim ban on Muslims coming to America, and America loved the Muslims in China. Bull crap, right? Something is stupid, right? We can't allow people to take 10% truth and make 100% reality out of it. The other thing is we have to always follow a nice analysis, a correct analysis. And then we take our time. We take our time. See, like far as the Uyghurs are concerned, Uyghurs in Guantanamo, Saudi Arabia supporting them. Chechnya, fighting the Russians, supported by Saudi Arabia. Remember, this global war against Islam is have the Muslims become the bad guys, and those bad guys will fight us, the good guys, here in the United States. Everybody say that we're the bad guys, right? What have we ever did to anybody? Just ask yourself that. What have we did to anybody? What do they say about us? Anything, we drink blood, we do. They have anything you could imagine, they done already said it about us. Where Shias, and they stole the Shias from here and built the Shias a place, I'm not going to say, out in the woods. And there's no revolutionary dialogue coming from out there where they are. When they were here, they were surrounded by the right line for Shiism. Half of the books out there are Shia books. They come here to get Shia books to take out there. and I give them to them for free, right? So we have to be careful about, again, we mentioned the other day about what we thought about China. You know, remember we had that program? And we said China has to be careful about being a colonial master in Africa. We said China has to have debt forgiveness. Forgive 50% of the debt and give them double the time to pay back whatever they got to pay back. In fact, if you can go back to the time of Chairman Mao, when a loan was a 2% loan, that's what China, and that's for carrying charges. That's not that's not anything. It's 2%. We're charging y'all. We're going to build this railroad, and we're going to charge you. And the Chinamans worked harder on the railroad than the Africans did. The Tanzam Railroad, we call it, from Dar es Salaam to Lusaka, Zambia. The point is that we've been keeping our eye on China all along. China and Japan, China and the Asian revival, you know what I mean? China. We've been keeping our eye on China. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. China is the only country, they brought 800 million people out of poverty, and they're going back to get the other 500 million people right now. That's what they're doing. For the last couple of years, they have a program to bring those people who stayed in the countryside, the farmers and all of that, right, to raise their level too. They'd already got a big middle class, biggest middle class in the world. Now they're going back on their own. It ain't nobody got no program. Okay, let's go back and get the poor. The poor, don't nobody even want to talk to the poor. They don't want them around. They're not needed, right? We don't need you niggas. You're just poor. Tell the truth. They treat poor people like it's a crime to be poor. And I was with them. We used to say, man, them poor niggas, this is poor. You know, when you get big for a little while, and we were taught that. And then I said, wait a minute, them people, but for a while, you lose your consciousness, and you be thinking, yeah, man, and you make fun of the niggas poor. You know, take that nigga down to the poor house. It used to be a little sister's house of the poor. See, right now, social services is called one thing, but they used to have a house in each neighborhood. It was the poorhouse. And that's what it was. Then now they call it the social services, something of the center. But in those days, they called it this is the poorhouse. If you run out of money, you can go down and you can live in the poorhouse, right? And they called it what it was. They called garbage people sanitation engineers and all that. They're garbage people, right? But modern times, you can't call nobody, you're a garbage man. No, I'm a sanitation engineer. Look at my card here, right? So people don't call things what they, anyway, back to China. Don't worry. We'll look into it even more depth. What we have heard from the Chinese themselves is that most of this stuff is invented, and they use statistics like China used to have a one-child policy for all the Chinese, but for the minorities, they had 4 million people, now they got 11 million people. In other words, the Uyghurs have 3, 4, 5 children. The Chinese have 1. You see what I mean? Because that's their policy. But for minorities, they don't put so you guys can get more people. If any of that is true, they have to send somebody there. And the people come back. All the people that we are conscious of that come back from that part, they said that it's fine. they got a couple of Salafis. Remember, Salafis. If we had a jail, we'd put them in jail too. We would not put them in jail because everybody got a right to believe. A man moved across the street from me and they got an American flag. So the kids would say, that guy got a Tesla and he's got the American flag. I said, hell, he can buy what he wants and he can put the flag right across from he might pull it down yesterday, but a big flag. I say, hell, that's his house. He can put what the hell he want out there. You can go all around the neighborhood, you won't find no American flag. I haven't seen none. It's hardly none. Now the white neighborhood is different. Okay, but I ain't seen none. If those guys is kind of white, if he want to have a flag, he can wear it, put it out. Back to the Uyghurs in China. We don't make decisions based on who our team is. You know, like we investigate. That's why when the question of China came up, I said, okay, I'll give you some. So the other day, I gave a long list of things that I thought China should do to make sure that they don't become a colonial power in Africa. They have to control themselves, right? Because Chinese and Africans are different, and if they don't control themselves, they won't know. The Chinese are like ants. They work like ants. That's what they do. They've always done that. That's part of their nature. They're like Germans. Germans love, like some people, they talk about democracy. Some people don't want no whole lot of freedom. They want a strong leader, and that's what they do. We don't, what the hell are you guys, don't nobody want, you want that. We don't want that. You want 50 choices. We want 4 or 5 choices finished. I don't want to be confused about it, right? I don't want but 4 or 5 choices. You can have your 500 choices and sit there forever going crazy trying to figure out what to do, right? So the point is, and I'll close with this, we analyze friends and foe according to the reality. That's why if somebody asks a question, we said, we'll take a little while. Now, even on the question of the Uyghurs, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do even more research.
This was a question, or whether it was a comment, it was a comment by someone else on your follow-up on China to the other person, you know.
Okay, right.
That's what it was.
Well, no, the question they asked about China, first we answered it reasonable, then we came back with a detailed discussion. Okay, if people want to run you down, they'll then, well, what about the Uyghurs? Well, we're Muslims. What about the Muslims then, all over the world? Iran got a thing with China. Everybody else, why do the Muslims all have stuff with China if the Uyghurs are getting oppressed? Right? Okay. So anyway, we'll do a little semi-detailed research on China and Uyghur Muslims.
And this was another question from Tuesday's lecture. A brother asked, brother, what is a jinn? Are they human or are they spiritual beings?
The jinn. There's a surah, jinn, right? Jinn, same root as Jannah or garden, because a garden is inside and it's hidden. Jinn could mean foreigner. Jinn could also mean something that you don't see with the eye. For instance, historically, when you looked in a microscope, the little thing, the microscope. Okay, the stuff that you could now see, when you couldn't see it, that would be a jinn because it has real life, right? They're biological, but you can't see them. So a jinn has something to do with hidden. Now also, but it could also mean foreigner. Example, in Surah Jinn, there's a people that heard a beautiful recital of the Quran and they liked it. Those people were, that's in Surah Jinn, that's Surah Jinn. Okay, but generally, jinn means something that's imperceptible with by the eye. You don't see it, but also it means foreigner too. They're from among the jinn because they're foreigner. They're from way over there, and you know, so. So that's the jinn. They could be physical. The Surah Jinn, they heard a beautiful recital. Look in Surah 72, 72. That's Surah Jinn. They heard a beautiful recital and they liked it. That's in Surah Jinn. Jinn. Distant, hidden, but also like, you know, functional. You could, I don't want to get spooky, but we're just going to. Have any of y'all ever heard of haints before? You never heard of haints? See, y'all modern. Can you look up haints? H-A-I-N-T-S.
Like ghosts, like
Yeah. Kind of like, yeah. All the old people seen haints. And I've seen a haint too. When I was 4 years old. I'd swear by it. Now, all the people older than me, I'm the last one born in the South. So nobody sees haints out here. They don't see haints. They never even. But in the South, you see anything about haints?
Yeah. And I'm realizing, okay, that's why it took me off my, I was spelling it wrong. It's like saints, just with an H. Haints.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Haints.
I see that. Yeah, here we go. It's ghosts and evil spirits from the south.
They're evil spirits for white people.
Oh, okay. That was just the title of it. Southern legends of haints, ghosts, which is boogermen, boo hags, and boo daddies.
Yeah.
Okay, so a haint is an old southern word for a specific type of ghost or evil spirit from the Carolina coast, but found in tales from various regions of the South. Belief in haints probably originated from the Gullah-Geechee people, descendants of African slaves in the Carolina Low Country and barrier islands. In South Carolina, haints are malicious ghosts, often seeking to steal or harm naughty children, may be used as a story to make unruly children behave.
No, haints are real. Okay, I'm going to just tell you, this is a step funny. I think when my mother died, all the family came together. And I was the youngest one there. Sister Bahia was sitting next to me and everybody, they got, haints is a natural part of your conversation for old people. So everybody was talking about haints. My brother, my oldest brother, he said, yeah, I first saw my first haint back in 19 something or other, and he had white shoes on. Everybody remember their haints. You know, for white people, they were evil spirits. Dark, if you were to read books like old books, caste and class system of a southern town. Caste and class system of a southern town. That's an old book. White people saw haints as these dark figures that always come to punish them, because that's what they did to us. Now, for black people, I asked my father, I said, Daddy, when you see your first haint? He said, I was in 1918. I was 18 years old. He said I had a 38 special. And I said, well, how do you know it's a haint? He said, you know, on a ledge, he was standing on the ledge of a bank, you know, like the river. And that ledge wouldn't hold a human being, you know. So I knew it was a haint. And he said, I told him, you just watch yourself, I'll blow you away with this. So it's like black people they're not afraid of haints. They might try to use it to scare little kids. But haints were just abnormal. They could do stuff that, this is a question of jinn. They could do stuff. In Arab countries, all the old people have seen jinn. All of them. Finish. All of them, they've seen jinn. They don't care what you tell them or what they've seen them. They exist. The young people don't know nothing about it. I ain't never, what a jinn. I know they exist, but I ain't.
So they're physical and non-physical. They're somewhere in between.
They're both. The word, first I'm using the word. The word jinn comes from jana, you know, the Arabic root word. And that means hidden. Like a garden was hidden. Jannah, paradise. Right? It's hidden. Right? So jinn comes from the same root word. And so garden is the internal place in the house, you know, like now the garden is outside for us, outside, right? But in the East and in Mexico, the garden is inside. You ever see them? The garden is inside. You come into the house and then the house is around and in the middle is a garden, okay? And so anyway, the jinn can be physical, but it's spiritual also. It's not just one dimension. They're not one dimension. So no, jinn are multidimensional. Sometimes it means foreigner. Okay. And then they heard a beautiful recital. I don't, let's see if we got that other translation. Excuse me 1 second. Can I just, Jinn, unseen beings. Say it has been revealed to me that some of the unseen beings gave ear to this divine writ, to the Quran, and thereupon said unto their fellow beings, verily we have heard a wondrous discourse guiding toward consciousness of what is right, and so we have come to believe in it. So the jinn, they believe. Yeah. And we shall never ascribe divinity to anyone besides our sustainer. So this is from Surah Jinn. Let me just read a footnote, it might help. I had heard and accepted it. This being the meaning of the above context of the verbal istama as regards to various meanings attributable to the plural noun jinn, rendered by me here as unseen beings. You could see the appendix they got up, but we won't mess with it now. As pointed out there, the jinns are referred to in the Quran in many connotations. In a few cases, e.g., in the present instance and in this expression may be possibly signify hereto unseen beings, namely strangers, like foreigners, who had never before been seen by the people among whom, da, 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 da. And it has many connotations, which we would be invisible forces, unseen beings, and ins and jinns, from among ins and jinns. Ins is created and jinns is unseen being. So I hope that answers some of the question. Yeah. Okay. Okay, alhamdulillah, we'll close up shop for now. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم.